Welcome. I'm going to walk you through the invoice print status and invoice process status, what their purpose is, and how you use them in this short video. So I'm going to start by going into point of sale and then enter invoices, and I'm going to create a quick invoice. Okay, when I click the complete transaction button, you may have noticed two short red messages pop across the bottom of my screen, and now I'm back in point of sale so I can create another invoice. This is 99% of the purpose of the print batch and the process batch. If I have a line of customers or if I have the phone ringing off the hook, I can finish a ticket, move on to the next one, and I'm not waiting for anything to happen. Now, those things include the invoice printing, the invoice updating my inventory and deducting quantity on hand appropriately, updating my sales, my account information being updated correctly, my daily sales reports. There's all kinds of things that happen when you process an invoice. And by using these batches, I don't have to sit here and wait for my screen to finish all of those processes before I start a new ticket. I'm going to press the escape key and go into number 2 and first walk you through what the print status is. So when I finish the invoice and I press the F12 key or the Control W to finalize the invoice, it goes into the print status. And it's going to sit in here until I have a printer available. Now most of the time I immediately have a printer available, so I might not even see this information because it went through my print batch and out to my printer so quickly I just happened to miss it. The information across the screen is my ticket number, the printer it's going to, which my question mark on this screen is legitimate, the transaction code, the clerk, the account number, and the store if I have multiple stores. Tickets are just going to pile up behind this invoice waiting for a printer to be available in the instance if where I may be changing out the toner cartridge or maybe I'm changing out the printer itself. My status is currently inactive in the upper right hand corner, but unless you have a reason to, there's no reason to deactivate the print batch. We're just going to wait for a printer. As soon as one is available, we're going to print to that appropriate piece of machinery. So in the bottom, I can F1 and F2 through the lists of tickets that are sitting here. I don't imagine that that would happen very often, but if there was, you could scroll through the list. I can A to activate. I'm going to do that now. Which printer do I want to activate? Do I want to activate all tickets to print to all printers, or do I have some reason that I only want to activate a certain printer? That would be a decision you would make on the fly. I'm going to press the enter key and leave it at an asterisk like that because I have no reason to specify a certain printer. And if I were to press the enter key or this refresh button on the far right, it's going to print my ticket. Probably already has, but I was leaving that up there so that we could discuss why the information was sitting there. Deactivate the batch is how I stop tickets from passing through. If you're overly concerned that you're going to replace the toner cartridge and that you might lose invoices, you can absolutely deactivate the batch and then they'll just sit there waiting for you to activate it. The B batch button allows me to see a listing of multiple batches and what their current statuses are. And the reason I might have multiple statuses or multiple batches is if I have multiple stores. I don't want the tickets at store 1 to be held up by the printer issue that's going on at store 5 halfway across the country. So most customers who have multiple stores will see multiple print batches, and that allows you to change the toner cartridge at one location and not have that change affect prints that are happening in another location. The print batch, like I said, is just waiting for a printer to be available. So instead of us holding up your invoice screen, we send the ticket here. As soon as a printer is available, we immediately print. I'm going to go back into point of sale, create another ticket with that batch active. Oops. I'm going to finish my ticket. I'm going to get out and go into 2. And it's already gone. So typically that is how fast this all functions. But if you've lost an invoice, it hasn't printed, you don't know what happened to it, typically it is sitting in here waiting for a printer to be available. It's a possibility that this print batch is in error. That occasionally happens when you have a power outage and you bring your system back up. So if you come in here and the batch is either inactive or in error, if there isn't a reason to leave that, go ahead and activate it, and it may just kick its butt and start it to moving, especially if you've had an error because of a reboot. Once the ticket prints, it goes into my process batch. Now my process batch may legitimately be inactive. So if you see that it's inactive, walk around and ask employees if they have it inactive for a reason. The reason I would want to leave my process batch inactive is if I'm counting my inventory and I don't want my quantity on hand to change while I'm counting my inventory during a regular business day. If I'm running my end of month or end of year and I don't want new tickets to process into my sales figures, I could have that batch inactive, or for whatever reason I just need to stop things from processing. I can absolutely do this too. Maybe I'm trying to clean up my inventory or my AR, so I want to hold everything back. So the batch the status in the upper right hand corner is inactive. My buttons at the bottom again are F1 and F2 to scroll through the list of tickets sitting in here if for some reason there's multiple pages. A to activate is how I turn this batch on. D to deactivate is how I turn it off. B for batch is multiple batches, me seeing their current status. Now most of our customers, even those that have multi-store, have only one process batch because then there's only one place that we need to maintain to make sure that our tickets have processed. The return or refresh button does just that, and then escape will kick me out. So if I come into my process batch and it's inactive, you ask around to see if someone specifically has the batch inactive. If they do, you leave it, let them go ahead and activate the batch. We do have a process that will kick out all of your tasks at the end of the night. We typically do not bring your invoice process batch up active on boot for the case that someone is trying to run your end of month or your end of year. We don't want new stuff to process just because we did a computer reboot. So you will see this batch inactive also if you've had a reboot over the night. Again, if somebody doesn't specifically have it inactive, you may activate it. Now I'm going to pull up my other task here, and I'm going to actually interrupt my account L107 by putting my cursor up into the body of the account like in an edit mode. And I'm going to come into my invoice process batch and I'm going to activate the batch. Which store do I want to activate it for? Unless you have a reason to change this, you can leave it all asterisks. And then do I want to process F10 tickets only? I'm going to leave that no for now. I'll explain what that is in a second. Okay, I've activated my batch. I'm not holding up anything. I press my enter key. Nothing is being updated. So in the case that you came into your process batch and stuff is sitting in here, but your batch is active, there are a couple reasons why that might happen. The first is what I've done is I have brought up the account number that's involved in these tickets and I've put it into edit mode on my screen. If one of your users is updating telephone numbers or email addresses or taking a payment through the background screens for an account, that account becomes locked and in edit mode on that person's computer. Now, once that person finishes that process, they adjust the telephone number, they add the email address, they take the payment or whatever it is that they're doing, and they get out. So I am here, I get out of the screen, I press the enter key, and my tickets have all processed. That kind of thing happens on and off all day long, especially if you have a customer who does a lot of business with you or who buys a lot of parts from you. The other time that you might see that held up is if someone is adjusting your inventory. Your quantity on hand is being adjusted, your inventory is being counted or something like that. If we have a record up on the screen in edit mode, the tickets that need to process and need to update it on a part, the quantity on hand, the quantity committed, the date of last sale, that ticket is going to wait and just hang out until whoever has that part number locked releases it, and then that ticket is going to process. This is not typically an issue unless the person who was editing that part or that account leaves for lunch, or even worse, just leaves for the day. So if you come into your process batch here and you see a bunch of tickets sitting in here, you're going to want to run around the store and see if you can find who's got that information locked. Now, most of the time, if you have information locked for a certain number of minutes, at this line where it says store number, you're going to get a message that says the ARF record, that's accounting, or the INV record, that's inventory, is currently being locked by task 4. You can walk over to task 4, have them escape out of their system, or have them escape out to a main menu, and then your tickets will start to process. So might we see 1 or 2 invoices in this process batch just hanging out throughout the day? Absolutely. If we see a long list of them, then somebody's left their desk and left their screen in alter mode. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier that we do is we kick out all of the tasks out to main menu about a half an hour before we do your backup at the end of the day. So if somebody was to have left and no one noticed this, the system will kick that user out, process all of the tickets, and then we'll run the backup. So that's a reason that your process batch might be held up. The other reason that your process batch might be held up is because you're processing tickets for F10 that are in an F10 status only. So I'm going to deactivate the batch, I'm going to activate it, and I'm going to say process F10 tickets only, yes. So if you recall back to point of sale, an F10 ticket is one that you pressed F10 to put it in a save mode. You saved it as a pick ticket, a hold ticket, a special order, a loan, a quote. You didn't finalize the invoice. And so the reason that we allow for the batch to be active for F10 tickets only is if you are doing your end of month. We don't want a customer to call at 7 o'clock in the morning, create an order, you put it on hold, and then they call back at 7:30 to finalize that invoice, and that invoice is lost. So what we do is we have the batch come active for F10 tickets only or your held tickets only so that you can retrieve all of those hold tickets while your accounting department is running their end of month. If the customer finalizes that invoice, it's going to sit in here so it doesn't process onto their account record, into your inventory, or most detrimental, into your sales for your previous month. But we want those hold tickets and quotes to be accessible in point of sale because those customers may be coming in to get that material in a few minutes. They may be calling back to confirm that they'd like that order, so we need those tickets to be available. So if you come into this area late in the afternoon and you see a whole list of invoices, check to see if your F10 tickets only is set to a yes. If it is, again, run around the building, see if somebody has it set that way on purpose. If they don't, or if they forgot to change this status, you would deactivate the batch, and then you would activate it for all stores, and then process F10 tickets only no, which is actually the default. And then all of your tickets will start to process and your sales figures will be updated. We want you to go into these 2 locations, A2 and A4. If you ever have an employee who comes to you and says, I have no sales for the day, my quantity on hand is not being adjusted, the ticket that I just finalized for a customer wasn't emailed to them, or the ticket that I finalized for a customer isn't sitting on their listing of invoices on their account record. So if you have a scenario where you don't get a piece of paper printed or any of those that I just mentioned, go into A2, see if anything's waiting for a printer. Maybe you've got an error in your print batch. If there's nothing in here, it's active and it's completely empty, go into A4. Are you either F10 tickets only yes? Is your batch inactive? Or is that line across the top say waiting for task to escape out of your menu? If you have any questions on this, or if you can't figure out why tickets are held up in here, please call us. Our number is 800-829-4722, or you can email us at sbctraining@autolog.com. But I know it's always nice to have kind of a list of things that you check through before you have to call us and involve us in any of your programming issues or any of your system issues. So that's kind of a little video on why things exist in there and how to clear them out if you see them there. Thank you so much for your time.